then I go over to the visual side of the pile because music, you know already. I don't have to teach you anything about music. You already know what's good. Well, don't forget. Every now and again, it wouldn't hurt for them to be able to play a whole note or a half note. Let's not enter into the more note sweepstakes every second. On the other hand, you are music educators. It does make some sense that the music you would pick is the best of its kind. Can you play a rock and roll show? Absolutely you can. And win prizes? Absolutely. What are you doing to it? What are you taking from it? Where is it rock? Where is it you? I use these all the time. Okay, here's the traditional rock and roll. It's this tempo. It's a backbeat. 138. Let's go. Well, I better find something else to do with that because I got 10 minutes here. I'm going to be dead in about 30 seconds. So by the time you do your innovative work with it, it could be maybe one of the things we think of as state of the art. You've got to decide, however, pick the best rock and roll tunes. Maybe It's My Party and I'll Cry If I Want To isn't going to be on the list. It's possible that isn't one you're thinking of. And so many more brilliant works. But it might be the Carolinas are doing a thing called Bohemian Rhapsody on a theme of Paganini, which is Bohemian Rhapsody and the Rhapsody on a theme of, and it literally is done like this, in such a way as you recognize them both, and it leads to something it's not supposed to lead to. I think it's terribly clever. You find out, in fact, that, which we knew Bohemian Rhapsody is this like super romantic work. It has almost nothing to do with rock and roll except for heavy percussion. And oh my goodness, we're in drum corps. Heavy percussion works just fine. So I think it's pretty darn clever. And of course, they sound great doing it. Would I recommend you do that? No, I don't know your band. What's right for you? And that goes back to asking yourself the right questions. So now when we go over to the visual side of the pile, I have three other little tidbits. And I even have a mnemonic device for this. Visibility, identity, practicality. VIP. Visibility, identity, practicality. Visibility. You have forgotten about this, you have forgotten about this, you've forgotten about this, you have forgotten about this. Boo to you on visibility. If I cannot see it from 50 feet, I cannot see it. It's that simple. I'm not talking about how something is made. I'm talking about the color guard comes out and they do a little flippy flip and it's the back handle and then it comes around and the handling is so difficult. Oh, really? The flags didn't go around together. I don't care about the handling. I have to see it to credit it, right? I'm sitting up there in the judge's chair, and you're telling me something about the subtle nuance of the third finger from the, I have to be able to see it from the box. There are too many bands who are really the best. The fourth row thinks they are just the best band ever. And up in the box, we're going, huh? If I can't see it, I can't reward it. It's that simple. And that's why sometimes when you get into a room, you're working on a new uniform, it's the flag or a new uniform, and you get into a room and there's a table about this size and the room is about right up to the first row. It's a narrow conference room or your band office. And now we get the committee and the moms and all of that and the student leaders and your assistant who, God bless them, went to Muncie. So, and they're here. It's a joke. And they're here, and they're going, maybe the side stripe of the uniform should have red piping on one side and blue on the other side. That way we'd get all three colors of the school right into the side stripe of the pant. And I walk in and go, What pant stripe? What are you thinking? I can't see it. And when I can, it's a pain in the neck. Unless it's on one leg and it's just a big decoration or something. Why? Why would I be against, Mike, why are you against pant stripes? I mean, I single-handedly have gotten rid of pant stripes in the United States. Why? It's true. Everybody copies it now. No pant stripe. Well, why? Well, because a modern drill is based on a semicircle. Do you say, gather up in the company front, let's hear the opening number? No. In the olden days, we had pass and review, right? We did squads. We did passing so that we saw how we could tell they were together at 128 to 132. Well, there used to be rules that they had to be in that range. How we could tell they were together was no stripe, stripe, no stripe, stripe, no stripe, stripe, no stripe, stripe, right? Now, and coming at you, no stripes. Nowadays, it's based on a semicircular arc of some sort, an arcuate form of some sort. So the kid in the middle of the arc, how much of his stripes can you see? None. Kid down on this one, 100% of his right stripe. None. This kid, 100% of his left stripe. How are we going to get it to be uniform? You can't. They're wiggling in and out of each other. They're whining. Even the cadets don't have stripes this year. It adds to the visual mush. If you're going to do it, you're doing it for a reason. The Blue Devils have two on one leg. So you can see this leg. And it's all about what's here. And there's one down the front and one down the side. Of course, they're, I mean, this side looks like some factory, stripe factory blew up. But, and I did them. The point being, simplify. What can I see? Okay, that adds confusion instead of making the kids look better. What's the point of a uniform? What's the point of a uniform? To make the kids look, yeah, uniform. So let's see what we can do about that. We want them all to look tall and strong, right? So what are we going to do? Wide shoulder, narrow waist, short-waisted. Why would we have, Mike, I think we should have the olden days. We want the long. Why? So your legs can look this long? The longer the leg, the taller the kid looks. Fit the pants nice. Don't use contrast shoes. There's nothing like white shoes and black pants to look like Minnie Mouse. Hi, Pluto. Wanna? You know, I mean, what? Big clodhoppers. Well, I've got to show off the end. What year were you born? That's not showing off the marching. What you got high leg lift in the show? You got high leg lift? No, you don't have that. What, the mark time is all going to be to the same height? What are you talking about? Well, you know, when they stride, what? And, you know, on the one day that they're just a little off, but they're really doing a great show, it's heartfelt, it's got all of this, and suddenly we throw the judges a bone. Take a look at this. We really suck. So it's like, why would you add error to a show? Then you have to think about what does it look like in multiples. There are flags that are beautiful. Here again, we've done this. We put it right up to our nose. The flag's beautiful. It has 45 little colors. And then the branches break out and the blossoms on each of these stop. Then you get out on the field and it looks like, is that black and gray or black and brown? When what you really wanted was pink flowers. Do you see? The idea is you have a dozen girls, you have 30 girls, you have 20 girls in the color guard. If you put one blossom on every flag, you will have 20 blossoms. We'll get the idea. Don't put the bush, put the rose. And that's true of abstract designs. And then this one intersects this one. Stop. Color guard uniforms the same way. And then she has a diagonal device. What's that? Let the girls look good. Foundations, please, on high school girls. Foundation garments. No foundation garments. I'm coming. I'm finding you. I will hunt you down. Let them look great. Half the element is looking strong and good and ready, as opposed to some nightmare of a disco club or some sort of, I mean, what? Well, they look good. Now, you know, an older kid, a 19-year-old, might look good in a rock and roll outfit. And your girls might look good in a rock and roll outfit. With foundation garments, to make sure that she's secure in her performance. That it's about her performance and not about some pervert in the back row ogling her. You know what I'm saying? Let's be clear about our responsibilities to the child. Visibility, what can I see and how can I make that absolutely perfect? Identity, once again, who are we anyway, but also it might be the identity of a role or the identity of a show. Do you see? It's not just the school tradition here, but rather if it's a show about Marco Polo going to China, then I expect to see Italian stuff and Chinese stuff. Make sense? Don't say, but it's the modern version of the, oh, stop. You do a show about apples and oranges, I'd better see apples and oranges. Don't do a show. My show is called Apples and Oranges. I'm only seeing pears. Yeah, that's my choice. You know, okay, some people make really bad choices. You're one. And don't call your show Apples and Oranges. How about if we call it, you know, pears? At which point, she says, that's so obvious. You know, at which point, you know, somebody said, somebody asked me this morning on the one-on-ones, what do I do about the color guard instructor who's just overwriting and thematically out of line and making up her own show? How do I get to her? I said, you fire her. She's the wrong color guard instructor for you. And young color guard instructors, and you've all dealt with them, the really young ones, they want to write everything they know in this 16-count phrase. So the poor students locked up with the, you know, who are you anyway? What part of identity do you portray? And if you are, whether it's color guard, whether it's flags, whether it's visual, whether it's the drill, if you're the, you know, due to the dots drill, we don't really want to see the Cavaliers doing soft and pretty, do we? Their visual identity is that they're just hitting these sets left and right. The cadets' visual identity is they can go backwards at 200 without even raising their blood pressure. And they're doing it while they're honking. And the Carolina Crown is in there going, boom, entertaining, boom, catch this, boom, boom. Literally, a dichotomy is their identity, the idea that they can be popular and somehow classic. There's, by the way, always a case of when we talked about taking the best choice of every one of those music. You know, it doesn't matter what you're playing. If you're playing 70s hair rock, get that, get that right. And then practicality. You know, I've got it. Jimmy's mom can glue together a lot of plastic fruit for the apples and oranges show. And the girls can wear it on their hair. And as long as it doesn't get too hot, I think that the glue won't hold up. It won't hold up unless it's for one show and then they rip it apart or something. Each take a bite out of the fruit or whatever. It's not working. It doesn't hold up. It's not smart. And if it breaks, who's fixing it? If it breaks, who are they coming to? You. Susie's flag didn't work. It couldn't come out of the pouch and I didn't know what to do. Oh, leave me alone. We just took 36, then there's 4 buses on their way, but the band uses 6. So, you know, I've got other worries besides Susie's flag. So practicality, how does it work? And that's true with like uniforms. Really it's wool? Really? It's got a hook in the collar with snaps inside because, the first year they lost those liners, which, well, it's that way they can wash the liner. Why don't you just wash the jacket? There's fabric now. I mean, it's not 1932. There's fabric that washes, honest. Well, the band has to look like the old. Really? That's funny. The cheerleaders change costume every year. Sometimes they have 2 or 3 in a season, basketball and football. Let's see if the football team has changed uniforms over the last. Oh, they have? Okay, then it's time for the band. We'll keep the traditions intact, but, they don't really want to look like 1936, unless you're the cadets of Bergen County, or whatever they're from this year, Allentown. And unless you're the cadets, in which case they have worn that since 1934, essentially. Well, then, okay, knock yourself out. You're not in that position. It's changed 2 or 3 times. So why don't you stay up to date? Clean, clear, simple, strong. Make them look like something. And then be able to throw them in a wash machine. Well, I'm not sure those will hold up. Oh, please. You want uniforms that were built like Levi's. Where you need the tough stuff, put a rivet. I mean, literally, you're going to sew that button on. Sew that what? The moms can sew it on 16 times before you throw this uniform out? Rivet the button on. Duh. It's like, really? When I first started, when I invented bib pants, no, they are not called bibbers, at least not by the guy that invented them. I took them around to every uniform manufacturer that there was at the time. Remember Ostwald? Out of business. Fetchheimer? Out of business. Okay. And who would want that? We need those side zippers. Remember those with the side zippers here, and then this one here, and oh my goodness sakes. They need them, and then and there's a track, and they popped out. Usually as I'm going to do my drum major salute is pop. Oh, great. I have to do the rest of the show like this. That actually happened to me. And I had a 31-inch waist, so it isn't, they just went, And suspender, I think it was to keep the accessory guys into the suspender business, Every year you had to buy a few more suspenders because every high school kid needs at least one more piece of something to track down, right? So after a while you go, hold on, what do I want it to be? I want it to look better on the 5th washing than the first time I got it. I want it to be clean. I don't want it to smell. I want it to be environmentally sound. I don't want to be putting perk into the ground, a dry cleaning fluid. Where they dump perk? In the ground. Outside, the dry cleaning. Now they have, a truck that comes by to collect it. And then they dump it in the landfill. Oh, okay. Well, phew, thank God that. Wash. Wash the thing. Plus, it's easy and cheap. The same amount of money you would spend, it's not enough to make the outfits aren't cheap. But keeping them up is inexpensive. It's a better value. So how do we take care of things? You want flags made of silk? Okay, if you want to wash them by hand. And there are times when there's color guard outfits where you're going to have to wash it cold by hand. If you want this to have 45 little petals off of Carmen's dress, I understand. But guess what? They're staying up all night, or the moms are anyway, to take care of it. So on the visual side, visibility, identity, practicality. On the whole, tradition, innovation, state of the art. And those are the hints, the keys to how you can execute your responsibilities to the child and to the program. In terms of building a program, the marching band is often the most visible way to capture the attention of those folks that are going to spend money. One of the things I learned from the great Ralph Houghton, Stevie Houghton, a drum clinician, Indiana University. His dad was superintendent of music when I grew up. One of the things I learned from him, first thing I actually learned from him as an adult, was every member of the band is 1.5 voters because they have 1.5 parents. And so there are things in the way that town still, there's a board seat on the school board called the band seat. It isn't really. It's just that that's how many votes they can put together, that there's always somebody for music on the school board. Think about it. 4 years ago, they had a referendum because they're running out of money. Who isn't? Because suddenly, apparently, teachers are the enemy. Bad teachers. Bad. It isn't deficit spending at the government level. It's you. Just thought I'd like to let you know in case you didn't know that. And so they had this referendum, and they didn't have a lot of money, and yada, yada, yada. And so they got it down. Now, you recognize a trick referendum as well as I do, They're going to have to cut. So it's up to the voters. They can cut advanced math or 5th and 6th grade music. Well, you know how that comes out. Reading, writing, arithmetic. You've got to do them. Music won by a landslide, about 80%. That's how strong music is in that community. They were not going to give up those little kids' band. And funny, administration found money for the 8 kids in advanced math. You know what I'm saying? They had the money. They had the money all along. They just didn't, they wanted to fire some people. And they wanted to get rid of, and you've got to make the music program strong that way and vital and meaning-filled to the community. So when it comes time for some stupid referendum like that, you're ready, So, any questions? No? That's it? We know everything we need to know. Thank you, Mike. Great. Thank you very... No, excuse me. Thank you very much.